Hi there, my name's Miranda and welcome to another video. And today I thought I would do a book tag. Now, since I'm kind of slowly getting myself back into recording again, I figured I would just do a book tag right now because I quite enjoy them. I think they're really fun. They're kind of some of my favorite videos to watch. I just like people's answers. Today I'm doing one that I actually saw on Haley's channel from Haley in Bookland, but it is originally by Nicole and her books, and it is the Anti-TBR book tag. I thought this one would be fun because rather than talking about books I do plan to read, I'll talk about ones that I do not plan to ever read. Change it up a little bit. Still books, still a book tag. And for this I will leave the original video linked down below. If I remember on Haley and Bookland's video, that apparently this was going around quite a bit a couple months ago, so as always I'm pretty late to this. I'm always late to things. That's just how my life goes. Okay, so this tag consists of technically 9 questions because one of them has like a secondary part to it, but it's sort of 8 questions, but I guess technically it's 9. Yeah, so 8 questions with one of them having a secondary part to it. So question 1, a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. Right, I have a list. I have no interest in reading the Throne of Glass books. I have no interest in the Cord and Thorns and Roses books, not even the spin-off that I guess has recently come out. I have no interest in Crescent City. I don't have an interest in any new Cassandra Clare books. And I don't have an interest in almost any popular YA contemporary book that is out there. Although I have recently been really into YA contemporary, which is really weird, and I feel like I'm losing my identity as a mainly fantasy reader. But yeah, there are quite a few books out there that I don't really have much interest in reading. A couple of them that I guess are super popular. A few that I'm not entirely sure. Like, I have no interest in the rest of the Iron Fairy books, and I think they're popular again right now because of the anniversary. Not entirely sure though. Right, question 2 is a classic book or author you don't have an interest in reading. Right, so my main answer for this is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I do plan on reading the book by her sister Charlotte, Jane Eyre. I don't know if I'm going to read any others by her, but I do want to read Jane Eyre. I have no interest in Wuthering Heights though, and that is mainly because I'd initially planned to quite a few years ago because I do like a lot of classic female authors, mainly Jane Austen, and I really love North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. But I watched the movie Wuthering Heights with the Bronte man. I call him the Bronte man. I don't remember who he is. I remember he played the main leading guy for a Jane Eyre television series, and then he also played the main guy in this Wuthering Heights movie, so I refer to him as the Bronte guy. I don't remember his actual name. Should really start remembering this. Who is it? Oh, there's too many adaptations. How is this gonna go? Right, it was the 1970 Wuthering Heights starring Timothy Dalton. He also starred as Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights. He also starred as Mr. Rochester, I'm pretty sure, in a television version of Jane Eyre, so I now refer to him as the Bronte man. That's who he is to me. But yeah, I watched this movie with a couple old housemates of mine, and we only watched it by chance because I was told to pick a number between 1 and 10. I picked the number, that was the movie we watched, and we all agreed I made a horrible mistake. I did not enjoy the movie. I'm not going to enjoy the book. I don't plan on reading it. Not gonna happen. I'm pretty sure I already donated my copy back at Edmonton. Maybe, or it's in a pile somewhere ready for donation eventually. Only other classic books I have no real intention of reading is like Lolita by, don't even remember the author's name, and I think almost anything by Victor Hugo, not because I think they're gonna be bad, but just because of how massive the books are. Kind of feel the same with Count of Monte Cristo. I would really like to read it, but I look at the size of it and I am intimidated. If I can get over that, I might eventually though, so maybe they shouldn't be counted. But definitely Wuthering Heights, I have absolutely no intention, or Lolita, whoever it's by. But yeah, I also don't intend to read a lot of the great American classics, because I don't have much of an interest in any of them. I'm still very thankful I wasn't made to read any of them in public school. Well, I was made to read Great Gatsby. I still hold to my belief that it would have been more interesting if it had focused on the cheating golfer. You cannot change my mind on this. Right, so now we're at question 3, and question 3 is kind of a two-parter because there's question 3 and then question 3.2. So question 3 is an author whose books you have no interest in reading, and then question 3.2 is a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. So for an author whose books I have no interest in reading, like just generally, I have no interest in reading anything by Stephen King because he really just writes horror, and I'm not much of a horror book person. I've watched horror movies. I have an interest in a couple, particularly like Korean movies and dramas that have some horror elements in it that I want to watch, but I don't feel drawn towards reading it. So in general, I've just decided to avoid Stephen King. Right, on to the next part of that question. A problematic author that I have no interest in. I'll be honest, I don't really know any. Actually, I think it was mentioned somewhere that Colleen Hoover is considered a bit problematic, and I have no real interest in any of her works either. Not because of, well, maybe a little bit because of some of the problematic stuff I've heard, but mainly because all of her books are just in something I have no interest in reading. So maybe she can fall under this question, but generally speaking, I don't really have an answer for it. I do have like a list of authors I have no interest in reading, but I can't think of any, obviously, that I don't have an interest in them because they're problematic. Most of it is just I have no interest in their works. Right, so question 4 is an author you have read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. So I think my answer for this may be Libba Bray, because I read her book, A Great and Terrible Beauty. That was it. And I cannot describe how much I dislike that book. I have heard a great deal of praise for her Diviner series books. Everyone seems to love them. And I have absolutely no interest in them because all I can think of is the only other thing I've read by her was A Great and Terrible Beauty. And it was also like a historical fantasy book she wrote. And I hated it with a passion. So based on that, I really can't see myself ever picking up her Diviner's books or even anything else she's ever written. Yeah, the only other author I can sort of think of, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned her along with Libba Bray in a previous video, is Claudia Gray. I read the first book of her Evernight series quite a few years ago. I tried to read the second book, but then DNF'd it, one of the very few I've ever DNF'd. And ever since then, I've just never felt compelled to pick up another book by her. Oh, actually, I think Julie Katagawa can maybe be on this list as well because Iron Fae or Iron Fairy, I don't know which one it is, but either title, whichever it is, I read it, hated it so much that now I have absolutely no interest in any of her books. But I think that's really it. I have one author I'm on the fence with them on whether or not I'm going to continue with any more books this author writes. I've decided I'm going to because I'd like to finish, or at least attempt to finish the final book in a series, and I have some vague interest in a new book this author has coming out at some point. And I also like a series he's writing with another author, but I am finding I don't like a lot of his works he writes on his own. So maybe, I don't know yet. I will save that for when I finally can decide where I'm going to place him. I think if the final book of that trilogy, I just find I really don't like it, I might end up blacklisting him for myself as well. At least his solo books. I still like the ones he writes with he co-authors. Right, so question 5 is a genre you have no interest in or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. Right, I know for a fact a genre I have absolutely no interest in is Westerns. Like, no matter what, I will never pick up one of those, but I don't even think that's considered like a big genre these days. The only other thing I can think of that I have no real interest in right now, and that's a where I am in life thing maybe, or a fact that most of these books just don't catch my interest in general, but they're like adult contemporaries that deal with too much of real life problems. So like, I don't know, divorce, midlife crisis, anything like that. I kind of look at it and go, I don't really feel like reading those kind of books. But I enjoy reading for escapism more than anything, so I don't really like any very obvious real world problems in anything I read. There can be real world problems, but it better have dragons. Yeah, I'm not a big contemporary in general type of person. That's just a personal thing. The furthest I'll go is I'll read mainly some historical fiction periodically, but even that I don't reach for very often. Same with just contemporary in general. I've kind of gotten recently a little into some YA contemporary, but that's just because I think they're really fluffy and I enjoy them, but generally speaking, I don't like them that much. I just think they're like mildly enjoyable. They're those fluffy little books that they put a little smile on your face because of how cute they are, and that's about it. Because like I said, I read for escapism, I read for enjoyment. So yeah, I'm not very interested in those adult contemporary books that deal with very much like life problems. They don't interest me. I doubt that they're going to interest me for quite a while. I don't know if they'd ever interest me, to be honest. I think there was only one I looked at that I contemplated reading, and I'm still contemplating it, and if I do ever read it, well, that'll be interesting. As for a genre I've tried and couldn't get into, I can't really think of any. I do know for the longest time I had some problems with sci-fi, but I think I've mostly gotten past it. I haven't fully gone past it, definitely not. I don't read nearly as much sci-fi as I do like watch it. I think I have a bit of a preference watching it to reading it. But I can't think of any genre I've tried that I just absolutely could not get into. The closest I can think of is maybe horror, but even then I can only really think of 2-ish books, and that's Horns by Joe Hill and Mexican Gothic by Sylvia, something middle name, Garcia. Those are the only 2 horror books I can think of, and I actually enjoyed both of them. So it's not that I couldn't get into it, it's just, it's difficult for me to find ones that interest me enough to actually pick them up because I don't really reach for it. I prefer watching my horror to reading it. Wonder if my friend who is like a big horror movie buff would be a little proud of me for that I actually enjoy watching horror these days. Not a lot of it. I don't like watching every bit of horror. I just like bits and pieces now and then, so maybe not that much. Right, so the 6th question is, a book you have bought but will never read. This can be a book you have unhauled or returned to the library unread. Right, I don't think I've ever... No, I have unhauled books in Edmonton that I've never read, but most of them were really, really old ones I had from when I was younger and I just never got to them. And the only other one I unhauled or plan to unhaul eventually, Wuthering Heights. I think I still own it. I might have gotten rid of it when I went for a visit quite some time ago. I don't actually remember. And I did unhaul Stargazer by Claudia Gray, which was that sequel to Evernight that I completely DNF'd. So maybe that counts as well. The only other thing I can think of is I have returned a couple library books I've never read, and I have no intention of reading them now. One of them, which you would have seen if you saw my Christmas at Hogwarts Magical Readathon video vlog from, it was like 2 years ago now. But yeah, I took out Shadow of the Fox by Julie Katagawa, and I never read it, and I, at this point in time, have absolutely no intentions of reading it. That's, I think, the only ones I can really think of. Right, and 7, a series you have no interest in reading or a series you started and have DNF'd. Right, I think I already mentioned a bunch of series I have either no interest in or I won't continue in from the first question, because like pretty much any of the series by Sarah J Maas I won't read, and I have no interest in any more of the Shadowhunter books by Cassandra Clare. Had my time with them and I'm done with them. Any of the new ones that come out, anyone else can enjoy them, but I just find I really don't want to. So I did actually think of this, and I thought of a series that I did start it, and I will not be continuing with it whatsoever. And that is the Game of Thrones series by George R.R. Martin. I started the books, I think around when the 3rd or 4th season came out. And I absolutely loved the first book. I enjoyed it. I devoured it pretty quickly. I absolutely loved it. I got very excited for the rest of the books in the series. And then it went downhill very quickly after that first book. I read the second book and I didn't like it nearly as much. There were like bits and pieces I was interested in, but for the most part, I didn't think it was that great. But then the third book, I didn't even make it halfway. I DNF'd it. I feel like it's cool for people to say that they think Game of Thrones is overrated. So I don't really know if that's how I would put it, but I would say I don't think Game of Thrones is as amazing as a lot of people seem to want to believe it is. I've semi-watched the series because I'm gonna be honest, I have a rough time sitting through episodes of Game of Thrones. I was pretty okay for the first season. First season, I watched it mainly with my mom, and I did actually enjoy it. But then after that, my mom could sit there and watch it, binge it effectively, and she enjoys it. I would be able to sit there through, I think, almost a full episode from season 2 onwards, but I would keep sort of not being interested and just get up and leave. Most of what I know from Game of Thrones is based around clips I've watched off YouTube because I haven't really watched full episodes. I think the last full episode I watched was like the big battle that happens in the final season, the big one where no one knew what was going to happen because what kind of spoilers am I allowed to give? I don't want to give spoilers in case someone doesn't want spoilers, so I don't know what to say. But it was one episode in the final season where it was a big battle, but it was like early in the season, so it's not the big battle, and I don't know how to describe this. But I really only watched it because I wanted to know about a few different characters that were in it. Beyond that, that was it. And I really only cared for a couple characters. My favorite character from the very get-go was Sansa, because I remember reading her, watching her, and I went, yeah, no, she makes a lot of sense to me. I think she's a pretty decent character. She's a little stupid in the beginning, but she learns. I like Tyrion. Everyone likes Tyrion. I think everyone likes Tyrion. I'm pretty sure everyone likes Tyrion. I liked Daenerys from the books. I don't think I was as fond of her in this TV series. But that was about it. Oh, I also really liked Robb Stark. Funny story. I had a friend in my undergraduate who absolutely adored Robb Stark. And when what happened in his story arc happened, she was so infuriated by it. She refused to continue with the series. Like, oh, it was glorious how furious she was. But the main reason I kind of stopped with Game of Thrones had to do, in particular, with one character. And that was Catelyn Stark. I hated Catelyn Stark. I hated her with a passion. And so much of the book's point of views are her point of views because you have to be with her to know about Robb's storyline. And I absolutely hated her. I hated her. I couldn't continue with the book because in order to understand what was going on with Robb, you had to read her point of view, and I hated her point of view, and I hated her that I just DNF'd it, and I will never pick up the books again. I know her storyline, I know what happens, I know everything. I don't care. I won't pick up the books. I don't care. I will probably read some spark notes about the rest of them when Martin eventually comes out with them, but other than that, I just don't care. And then in general, there's a lot of things about the characters that I just don't really care for. Or I kind of look at it and go, I question how this character is. I remember getting into a conversation with a friend because when I told them my favorite character was Sansa, they were like, but she's so useless. And I went, well, have you thought about how she grows up? Have you thought about how this world works? She makes sense. She's a kid. I think in the book she's only 13 or 14 when they start out? Her actions make sense for that age. In the series, it's easy to kind of forget because I kind of keep thinking she was older. When I actually saw it in the books, I was mildly confused. But I think they purposely aged them up, which I do appreciate. The character that confused me the most, I think, was Arya. I don't know, maybe if I had continued, she would have made more sense to me, but in general, I just remember thinking every now and again, yeah, sure, Arya. Whatever you say. Not an Arya hater. I do actually like her. I think she's great. It's just periodically I was really, incensed by people who kept telling me that. Why would you like Sansa? She's so stupid. And I go, all the stuff that is explained about her background and what she wants and her hopes and dreams, everything that she does makes sense. She's a stupid kid. That's how she starts out, and she learns. Probably shouldn't continue on this rant, or else I will keep going. I still remember the day when finally people started to like her, and I was like, I feel validated, guys. I told you from the get-go. But yeah, I won't continue Game of Thrones. Absolutely will not. I do not think it's nearly as good as a lot of people seem to want to believe. But I guess it's common trend now that everyone thinks it's now overrated, especially because of the last 2 seasons, which I understand. And before someone tries to be like, oh, it's only because I'm a big Tolkien fan that I don't like it. No, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Like I said, I absolutely adored the first book. I just think it kind of went down from that. And like I said, I hated Caitlyn. I didn't know how to continue. Game of Thrones was just upsetting. I can't with that. Alright, so question 8 is a new release you have no interest in reading. Right, I have not kept up to date with any new releases. Oh no. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was initially going to go with Crescent City, but then I remembered I think that book's almost a year old now. But just recently that came out was that start of the sequel series for Court of Thorns and Roses. It's like a Court of Silver Flames. Yeah, that book just recently came out, and as I said, I don't really have any interest in any of Sarah J. Maas's books. So her new release I have no interest in. I think there's a new release of Cassandra Clare that just came out, or is it almost coming out? I don't know. I can't think of any other new releases that I have no interest in because I haven't really been keeping up with it. The only other... Wait, is there a new Children of Blood and Bone book coming out? Because that's another one I don't have an interest in. I don't know, when is the next one coming out? Well, whenever it comes out, doesn't matter. I DNF the second one. Oh yeah, that's actually also an answer I guess I could have given for the last question. I won't be continuing with Children of Blood and Bone. Listen, I'm sorry, the first book legitimately disappointed me, but I decided to give it a fair chance and I did start the second book. I think I only finished 5 or 6 chapters before I DNF'd it because I realized I just didn't care. So I won't be continuing with that series either. I did try it, it just wasn't for me. Which I'm actually very upset by because it sounded like a very good book. I really liked the concept. It was just, I didn't like a lot of the characters. The two characters I really liked were the princess and the main girl's brother. Those were like the 2 characters I actually cared about. I think they should have been the mains instead of like the actual main characters. But yeah, other than that new... Hello, where did my lighting go? But yeah, other than that new Sarah J. Maas book, that Court of Silver Flames, there's no other new releases I know of that I have no intention of reading. There's only like some new books of series that will eventually come out I know I won't pick up. So there you have it. Those are my answers for the Anti-TBR Tag and the books that I have absolutely no interest in reading and a couple of the books that I have DNF'd, which again, there are not that many. It takes a lot for me to DNF a book because I'm usually too curious to be able to, even if I really dislike something I'm reading. There are definitely going to be more books that I decide I have no interest in, I'm not going to read. More popular books I look at and go, yeah, okay, that sounds interesting for some people, but not for me. And that's fine. Everyone has different reading tastes, everyone has different things they like, everyone has different things that bring them joy in what they read and other things that they look at and go, I couldn't care less. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos by me, most likely rather bookish related videos for the foreseeable future, I'm thinking of a few other types of videos I can do soon. I don't really know just yet. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting back into this. I'm probably going to have a lot of very standard videos, so like wrap-ups, book tags, talking about stuff I've read and what I want to read. I do have a few old, when I say old, I mean like 2 years ago, video bits that I can put together for some old travel vlogs for some places out here. I have some video from when I went to Hay on Wye, and I have some video from when I was in Pembroke. I do have a couple videos from a trip to London with a friend, but it's not a lot, so I don't think that one's going to be enough, but I might put together the Pembroke and the Hay on Wye videos. We'll see if I actually do that. Other than that, probably most going to be bookish videos, so if you want to see those, please click that subscribe button down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!